Tales Podcast, we have updates and stuff for you today. Joining me today is Sam and Alex.
Hello.
It's been a little while since we've done an update, although this update has come a lot earlier than most updates usually come, to be fair.
What could it be?
I don't know. Could it be the thing that I keep talking about, like, all the time, insufferably, and never actually, like, finishing it?
It can't be that, surely.
No, absolutely not. Well, this episode we're going to be talking about updates on stuff to do with the sessions, the game, and the website. Yep. The website, so it's now finally out in the open, AnimiteTales.com, you can actually check it out. It's not fully finished, it is scaffolding at this point, basically, but it's now out there with some of the PDFs, at least enough to get by for now. The Huskonian one should be finished soon so that you can actually have a look at that. And again, just as a reminder, all of this stuff is an open beta. It will be for many years an open beta where you guys give us feedback, and we build a community, a tabletop community based on this system, and you'll all be not only players and DMs, but also playtesters and DM testers. So I hope that you enjoy the game. I've had a lot of fun and still am having a lot of fun, and hopefully we'll have a lot of fun with this game for time and time to come, and I hope that more people can enjoy it. So yet again, thank you for anyone who has ever listened to us, and again, thank you Sam and Alex for obviously being part of this process of being both players and also nuisances that keep me up at night. So thank you.
You could just say say Sam. It's okay. It's a safe space.
Okay, fine.
Accurate.
Thank you, Sam, and only Sam, who is the only person who has helped me in this situation, but also who has only ever kept me up at night all the time, every time.
I mean, I say this as well, but you do. To be fair, I am sorry for messaging you at 3 a.m. multiple times with character ideas. I said I was sorry.
I think the weirdest part is that, like, I get sorries from that, like, from you whenever you send me stuff at 3 a.m, and they usually almost always are nights where I can actually do it, because recently you haven't done it whilst I've been at work, so you haven't sent me messages at 3 a.m, but I will get messages with zero explanation or context from Sam just saying, so what if I did this ability? And I'm like, for what and who and for what thing?
Can I say, at the time, I was quite sick, so my mind wasn't really there.
No,
Half the time I was saying these things. So I was mostly just like me sitting in bed watching something thinking, you know what? You could do that in this game. You can make a stone person that has immortality. Like, that's like what my mind decided to do at that time.
Yeah.
What about a gun that makes people alive? I was like, yes, go back to bed, Sam.
Go back to bed, Sam. It's like, however, every single one of you have your own quirks, and again, if it weren't for them, I wouldn't have known certain things needed to be in place, and certain rules needed to be a thing, and certain mechanics needed to be specified. So again, yet again, thank you very much for that. As for
thank you for giving us this opportunity, because I really do love this game.
No, I'm glad,
and I want to see it do well. Yeah, I want to see it do well.
Here's to hoping. To hoping. We'll get into updates then real quick. Then obviously, the website is out in the open now. It's still in early days, so there will be chunks of it missing because I don't have a lot of time, and at the moment, anyone who I have asked if they would be able to help me also are in very busy points in their life, because some people have just got new jobs. I know that Bill said who said that he was going to help. He's potentially going to go off to New Zealand at some point.
Oh my god!
For a chunk of time. So, don't know how easy it's going to be him to access that. So again, that's going to be kind of a big deal for us to have to look into. But hopefully Siobhan might be able to give me a hand with that. But again, she's also working as well. So again, please be patient with us. We are trying to do the best we can with the small amount of stuff, because we are not a studio that is professional in almost any sense. But we try to do our best so that you guys can have a system to run, and also a community that is trying to back up any and all possible communities for this system. So yeah, that's pretty much all of the super serious stuff out of the way in the terms of the website. I think the only other thing that I was going to say, which I've completely forgotten about, so I don't think I'll bring it up until later because I can't remember.
All been there.
Yep, just throw them all into the forget me pile. There have been quite a few updates between Sunday to now. So we'll talk about that in a second. But the one thing I was going to say is, obviously, with the website being the way that it is, there will be more possibility for character workshop podcasts where we create builds of characters again, and even having it that we make our own things. So what I was going to say for that, and I thought I'd ask it here, is if we were to do that, could we have it that anyone who does that, we try and have it that they make the character sheet in and on their own, and they try to make it level 0. Right? If it's possible to make a character level 0 for the build, we have the character sheets, and then we can then later on at the end of the podcast we can then put them all together, the 3 different types of builds, onto the website so that people can have a look at them for starter builds and stuff like that.
Okay.
If that's all right with you guys?
Yeah, that's fine with me.
Yeah. Right, what we could do is we could do starter builds and then give a guideline for what we think should happen. So if you wanted to start at first level, you could start at first level, and then we could give a vague guideline of how you should level up.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. We kind of like, I know what we could do for, like, branding or whatever. It could be like, you could phrase it as sort of like alternate dimensions, like, going one path and then going another path, and it'd be like, yeah, there's one way you could do it, but in another universe, you could do this.
That's also a possibility.
Yeah.
No, I really like that. Yeah. Sorry, Sam.
Just imagine doing the Wayne World thing.
Yeah.
There's just like four different sheets, and it's like, these are the what ifs. We could actually have it that the one that actually got voted in is just called like the the top voted, and then every others is just like the alternate.
Yeah.
Because I feel like, because again it's based on a lot of opinion. Someone might at some point figure a way how to build one of these builds that we've been talking about. I want to play Jason Voorhees in Animite Tales, and I want to play as Jason Voorhees, and it's like, okay, well, we had a video on that, and then someone might watch that and just go, well, there is an easier way to do it, or, well, there is a more lore accurate way to do it, and blah blah blah, and they might have an idea, do that. And again, we're trying to set up a community page where people can post stuff in there, like character sheets and stuff like that for other people and other players. So if there is going to be something like that, that could also have those connotations of, basically showing us up, like, oh no, you guys have got it wrong. The build is done this way, and if those kind of things happen, then we might talk about them on these podcasts, because again, it's, we want to build a community, and it would be kind of pointless if we said we were going to do it, and then it's not a community where we don't actually, find out stuff from you guys. So again, that's going to be that. But yeah, so that's the update for all of that lot. That's all sorted with the website. Time to move on. Updates in the game. As I said, between Sunday and Wednesday, as of recording, a lot of things have changed, or at least a lot of things have been added and altered. First one, which actually was done yesterday. I woke up in the morning, and I messaged both Bill and Kane in a group chat that we have, and I said, Yeah, there's something wrong with Omegans. There's about 4 Omegan types: Animon, Void, Titan, and Time Child. They have this weird thing where they have multiple effects and abilities on their powers. But when you buff them, you can only have one thing, and you have to choose between the multiple things that they have. At first, when we looked at this made sense. Because we were just kind of worried about them being too overpowered. However, when you take into account late balance for anomalies, prestiging for superhumans, pretty much just Huskonians' existences. I mean, obviously their starting stats are absolutely out of this world anyway. Omegans don't really have anything that makes them stand out other than the functionality of their powers, and you could arguably say, like, they're kind of almost an exclusive set of powers that just shouldn't be allowed to be put with other powers. Similar to when we had nullification. We were like, that shouldn't be allowed to be with other things.
The irony of that is to say it should go from it shouldn't be allowed with other things to it shouldn't be allowed.
It shouldn't be allowed.
I should say, speaking of people complaining to me at 3:00 in the morning.
Can we get some context?
I
mean, Joe, I have all the complaints about started with this nullification malarkey.
Say, like, what are we gonna do about Bill?
Yeah,
he's too powerful.
I think the thing is that I always say this. Like, I quite like it because sometimes I will ask Bill to make a build. Because he offhandedly goes, "Hey, I thought of just this one build that would kind of be funny, I guess," and I was like, "Oh my gosh, do it!" And then I realised halfway through the either the first session or as late as halfway through the campaign, he is just unkillable, or he is OP, or whatever. Phileas was the first of many, but the most ridiculous one was. I think he got his reputation quickly from you, Sam, because you said about Nathan, and then Talos, and then immediately after that, we then had it where it's like, okay, well, he's going to play as a character with nullification. That surely can't be that bad. It's so powerful that we had to completely ban it from being in the game as a playable power. Because it's less
so
about
sad because
no, go on.
No, it's so sad because he also creates characters that are quite charming as well. So it's sort of like, well, all right, fine. All right, you get to stay, you unkillable swine.
That's cool.
But despite that, like Titan children, especially like in the Omegan system, they were and in some relations, technically, until this buff, they were for such a long time completely the worst set of powers that you could have. You have you have like +1 to strength, con, and dex, which is super con, dex, and super strength, dex, and con, which is nice. It increases, for those of you who don't know, it increases damage up by 1 dice. Your modifier goes up by 1 extra for any dex-based attacks or any strength-based attacks, and for con it gives you an extra bit of stuff called vitality, which helps you to defend from any kind of injuries or ailments. The only issue with this was that is the lowest amount of points that you could possibly have in the terms of super stats, and that's all they got. Oh, and they also got a little healing factor, but the healing factor wasn't that powerful. And then when you get to level 4, 4 all the way to 9, you'd then have to choose whenever you buffed it, whenever you got you could either get an ability or you could buff it to make your power overall more powerful. The only issue is the buff would only increase your healing dice whenever you took a buff, and then you had to choose between one of the 3 super stats.
Oof.
If you chose it wrong, you might accidentally nerf yourself in so many different ways. And this happened with all of the powers. Animon and Void Children have the ability to have super strength, and then they deal out energy or dark energy, depending on if you're a void child. But again, if you get a buff, you have to choose between, do you increase super strength or do you increase the damage and range of your emission ability? Time children had the same thing. Do you increase your super dex or do you increase the amount of time that you can stop time for? And so on and so forth. And I want to point out that, like, technically in lore, it stops it out of combat, and in lore, it stops time for a minute. But when you're in combat and using it for in-combat movement, it just increases the amount of distance that you can travel by 5 meters for every minute. Which, in a lot of circumstances, is the worst. Because the first minute gives you your whole move speed, and then every other minute just increases it by 5 meters. And imagine having to do this, and you have to choose between them. It's very difficult. And I also realized that, at first I was thinking, that's kind of the whole point. They're not supposed to be powerhouses unless if you make them in a specific way, and so on and so forth. But the only issue was that, and this kind of bothered me, there was 2 big problems. Was the first one was just you can't really play the system when you're supposed to have the power to stop time. You are literally named after the word for giant or big or powerful, which is Titan, and you just don't feel it. Titan Child was supposed to be kind of demigod physiology, but even then it just never really felt all that great. You'd have to be level 10 to be all that formidable, and most Omegans are like that. Animon, I think it's Animon, Void, and Time Children were basically the best starting class out of all of them, and even then they weren't that great. I say they weren't that great. They actually are pretty decent, but it's just there's that factor of when you get buffs, it creates this big issue, which is the powers aren't all that good. And here's the worst part: because of the way that the buff system works, there was almost no point in choosing any of them but one of the level 10s. So Omegan powers, obviously, they get 3 different variants of level 10s, sort of split off, and then the power finalizes in this really cool way. The only issue is there would always be, out of the 3, one of them that was you can either have all buffs, no buffs, some buffs, whatever. And the power would just be amazing. And then the other 2 relied on it being buffed in a specific way, and even then it would still be completely dicked over. And we were talking about this, and one of the worst ones was Titan Child has this thing called Achilles Child, and it's based on the con, because there's 3 ones. There's one based on strength called Atlas, one based on con called Achilles, and the last one is based on dexterity and move speed, which is called Hermes. All 3 of these have different things that, it sort of encourages you to build up more in that particular one. Achilles, you didn't have to care about. You could go pure strength and pure dex, and barely even touch con, and Achilles' path would still be just as good as if you had chosen con or not. Now, don't get me wrong, still having a lot of con is still very useful, but it still just made this, this entire power kind of meh.
Yeah.
So sorry.
Shame. Yeah. Yeah, no, go on. I'm just saying, yeah, I did kind of think that was a bit weird. It's why would you go for anything else?
Yeah, they were pretty nerfed. So we've changed that. So the way that we've changed it is now buffs will affect every factor of the power that it states in the buff. The way that we're doing this is that anything and everything that the power can have be buffed will be buffed. That means if you have something with range, the range will be buffed. Something with damage, that will be buffed. Something with super stats, that will be buffed. If you have something that has certain special abilities or functionalities that doesn't really have something that it can be increased by, then that will be more tackled in the abilities. Hence why Fortune Child or Lucky Child, the ability to manipulate luck, they have their abilities and buffs are just 2 separate parts of the function of the power. But yeah, this kind of affected these guys the most. So we changed that so that now they can get a little bit more buffs, which actually is nice because Anarche, I think, gets a little bit stronger now, but it doesn't really affect anyone else as of yet, but it could very well affect characters moving on in the future. This also means that Titan children now have this thing where every buff means that it will give them +1 to all 3 of their super stats. But at level 9, all of these powers that state that they have a super stat, they now have to choose between their super stat and the ability that hasn't got a super stat. So with Titan children at level 9, you get to double buff one of the 3 super stats. And the other 2 stats don't get buffed at all on that level 9 slot. With Animon Child and Void Child, you either choose to double buff super strength or double buff the energy or dark energy emission damage as well as the range. And then finally with Time Child, you either double buff super dex or you double buff the time stop increase. This is so that like you know at the end you sort of choose which one that you would prefer. But it's also because like otherwise getting a double buff to everything under that is just so ridiculous. So that's the way that we've sort of compromised on that. So now they've gotten a bit of an update. They've gotten a bit of a nice little bit of a, well, you're probably sick and tired of hearing me saying the word buff, but yes, that's exactly what they've gotten. So yeah, so that's all sorted now.
That does make it kind of unique amongst all the other powers as well. Like it doesn't seem like, oh, it's just super strength, well, super dex, but a bit better. It's like, yeah, this sets it apart as an Omegan power, I think. So that has that extra thing going for it.
The funny thing is, when I was talking to Kane about it, I told him that like the system needs to have a little bit more consistency, and he said, "I don't know if I like this particular way, this, that, and the other." And I actually said to him, like, "Well, let's put it this way. I'm going to say to you what you said to me, and it's the whole reason why the Huskonians are the way that they are now. They don't fit in with the rest of the way that the power system works." Like, you know, they're not consistent. He went, "Well, when you say my words back at me like that."
Yeah, it's true. It's true. It's absolutely true. You know, so it's weird to not think of Omegans in that sense as well, because yeah, they are different,
like,
and it's good that they're different.
Yeah, like don't get me wrong, the way that they build up and the way that their level 9s and 10s work are different, but again, Huskonians have a different way that their powers work, and so, you know, it's that thing, but they all still fit under the same category as a, you know, usual average buffs will increase most of the factors of a power unless if the buffs are centered out differently, and I just think it would just be nicer, and again, it kind of lessens that gap between them and the prestiging superhumans and the late balance anomalies. It's just that thing of like, you know, they have these options and Omegans don't really get that sort of thing because they don't get power discovery, they don't get balance or late balance, and they don't get prestiging. There's a whole set of things that they don't get where other races do, and Huskonians get stats that can't be nullified. Like they get starting functions and mutations that can't be taken away from them. Whereas Omegans, they're just fancier superhumans, but without any of the stuff that, you know, sets them apart through most races. So obviously, just, you know, having that is nice. Yeah, that's the main thing that's been updated. The other thing, I think it came up. Did it come up in the session? I think something came up in the session. No, that's it. One update that did sort of catch my eye at one point was looking at the way that we build a lot of the powers. Toon Child is nearly finished, so people will be able to have that finished at some point. Truth Child has been finished for a while, but Mortality Child has not. So that power is still like under lock and key, and so will Toon. for quite some time until I can get Mortality finished, because they all need to come in like pairs and they all need to be in evens. Just for the sake of the dice, because you didn't, obviously you roll a dice to see if they're in an odd number. You can't exactly roll them to find out what one you got randomly. But yeah, so those will nearly be finished soon. I will say Toon is looking very good. Looking very strong.
It's probably I'm probably the most excited for Toon, to be honest. Like, ever since you just like decided on doing it, I'm just like, yes, let's go. But it's like, yeah, I would love to try that out. After my 9 characters I've designed, do that one, put that.
Yeah.
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 Get in line.
Get in line. There's a lot of them. There's a lot of characters. I think what was funny. No, go on.
There was so many more characters, as you really know.
I know that every now and again you just think, oh, I've got this idea, and you're just like, you fight the urge to say that you're going to use that one instead of the next one that you've got set up for the revealing, and the one that you've got set up for the Huskonian campaign. Although I still say for the Huskonian campaign, have your heart set on something, but again, just remember how long it's going to be between this campaign and that campaign, since there will be one campaign in between it, and we don't know how long the revealing is going to last.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, so secondary update, it's more of a scheduling thing. Obviously, we do Saturday sessions now, whenever we can, but they will always be in between the Sunday sessions. We don't do bonus ones on the weekends that we do the Sunday sessions, because no. It's just so that we did the Saturdays in between, mostly because that, like, I was kind of sick of having it that if we miss a session, it's almost a month before we next see each other in the terms of that session. On top of that, as a DM, I kind of get that itch when I have this plot thread and I'm like, yeah, and here we go, and now I have to wait 2 weeks before the next thing. And if we miss that, then I have to wait a whole month between these two plot threads that I'm trying to link together. So just, weekly is nice. So those are on from 9 p.m. till midnight UK time. So if anyone's interested in looking those up, obviously we have those. But yeah, there's not really much else to say about that one, to be honest. That is just extra schedule stuff. But yeah, what about you guys? Any thoughts and feelings on that?
Well, I don't know, because my schedule is with stuff that's going on, it's always a bit up and down.
Proper cray.
So yeah, it is kind of insane. I'm still able to do the Sunday ones, of course. I always try and make room for those, but I'm always a little unsure about the Saturday sessions, although they are on a pretty good time. So at 9 p.m. or something, so I can do that.
Yeah.
That's what I got confused about. I get so confused. I didn't really, I forgot about. Shut up, Sam.
Is that the name of your book? I'm so confused. The Alex Liddell story.
Yeah, I mean, yes. At the moment, it certainly is, because I'm like, oh, we have a podcast today? I don't know. My mind is elsewhere.
I think what was funny that was hilarious to me is that you actually contacted me on the Sunday to say to me, so on Wednesday for the podcast, I want to know what we're doing. And then today, yeah. I actually sent a message. I was like, oh, are we still doing it? I was like, it's Wednesday. And then even worse is that I was sat down, I was eating tea. Seconds before you called me, and I realized, oh, I'm supposed to be doing a session, a podcast. Rushing upstairs and trying to sort out my computer, and then having issues with my computer because someone else changed my setup without my knowledge. So that was great. But yeah, it's weird that you're more on the ball on a Sunday than you are any other day of the week.
Yeah, because it's I mean, I know it sounds daft, but I do put like a lot of energy. That's why I save up my mental energy to do the stream sessions. And well, any session really, but especially the stream sessions because they are being recorded. So I'm like, okay, I've got my game face on. I'll figure how to do it, and I'm like, oh yeah, we also got to do this. I got to do that, and then after that Sunday's over, it's all gone from my brain. It just doesn't happen. It might never have happened. I just get aphasia. It was just so, yeah,
Just
it's kind of
sequesters.
scary. Yeah, and I'm like, who am I? Where am I?
I have become Rakia, and then immediately afterwards, like, who am I? If I am not Rakia, who is
Is it their
left?
fugue state?
So I just hope I don't kill anybody as Rakia. Just like but am I in the game still? No, that's how that's how a depressed, anxious mind works. Like it is just sort of like I save up all of my energy for this session, and then it's just like, all right, that's it, you're done.
Oh,
Just takeaways. Yeah, it is. It's just like it is just like a phone battery slowly going down. It's like, right, that's it. Time for bed. It's the middle of the day. Time for bed.
I think
And relax.
I think the weirdest thing for me is whenever I do them is that like I have a lot of like hype built up before them, and then I could have an episode that actually has a lot of stuff that I was not prepared for, or a lot of stuff that I was prepared for, and I look back at it, I was like, oh my gosh, that was so hype, or oh my gosh, that had so many crazy stuff. And the weird thing is like when I'm in it, I'm like during that time I was not thinking that this was a hype situation. And this is actually sort of like bringing me to the actual session itself. Okay, so this kind of adds to the update pile, but it also adds to the session discussion, which is during the session, I like just before the session, like a day or so before, I was talking to Kane, and at one point he said about the teleporter. Like, oh yeah, technically he has access to the island that Yolkaiga's on. I went, well, yeah, obviously. And I was like, okay, interesting. And I was like, I didn't think of that. Oh dear. And the other thing was that I then sort of leaned into it, and I said, well, obviously I've already confirmed that he has Everywhere Man, which allows him to teleport anywhere as long as he remembers something using history. Or he can teleport anywhere in the world if he can look at an object or think of a place or look at a picture and roll creativity, and he can teleport anywhere in the world even if he's never been there. So Everywhere Man allows the user to teleport pretty much anywhere, regardless of how far it is and stuff like that. Craziest part about it was that like I wrote down that he had multiportation in case if he ever needed to get any of his crew with him, or any of the crew away from you guys. And we were talking back and forth, and I said, ooh, wouldn't it be cool if multiportation, the ability to teleport multiple people at once, wouldn't it be cool if that has actually got, like, even though it's an optional ability, it's actually got a weakness? And he was like, what's the weakness? And I went, you can't control whether or not you teleport with people or not. When you roll for it, if someone's holding on to you, you immediately are forced to teleport to the location that you're saying to, but with these people. So in other words, there could have genuinely be a thing that he was about to like teleport away, someone rugby tackles him, and then he immediately teleports somewhere, and he can't control the fact that you guys are with him, or one of you guys are with him. And so we changed that, we added that weakness, and we then said that there's an ability, the final two abilities are called Everywhere Man and Violent Vanish. And Violent Vanish is basically an elemental teleportation, like lightning portation, flame portation, or whatever. We had it that if you have multiportation, it's now possible that you can teleport on your own without a person. But with Everywhere Man, it doesn't have that. So literally, like, again, is that just that perfect thing of like, okay, if you grab onto this guy and he wants to teleport somewhere, if he accidentally gets high enough to teleport you along with him, he can't control that. He can't willingly say, no, I'm going to teleport alone. No, if you're holding on to him, you're coming along for the ride, whether he wants to or not. So I had that, and I have to be honest, I've been building Yolkaiger up for a while. I was thinking that I was going to build him up for a little longer before we actually got into that.
Yep. And now we got Anarchy prison arc.
Yes.
I'm like, this, like, I mean, I was kind of like Rakia in that sense. It's just sort of like, this is a bad idea, but I want to see what happens. It's like, I can't stop him. He's gonna do it. There's no stopping him at all, so it's gonna happen. So we might as well see, if he can, there's a shot.
I think what was weirdest to me is that nobody tried to stop him. Like, legitimately nobody. And I was like, okay, I understand Felix, because he doesn't really know him. And I understand, again, like, not just Felix, but also you, like, Lily. Like, I understood with Sam's character as well, like, in that regard. It's like, Lily has been with this team less than, like, 6 hours, right? I don't know who this guy is. He seems like a little strange, and now he's just going off on his own. All right, see you later, you cocky bastard. But what? Like, these two I understood, but like, say for instance, like with Rakia, Fletcher, even Cloak. Like, Cloak of all people, like Bill's character is supposed to be like the strategic guy, and like all this stuff, and it's like, I understand that he's like didn't get too close to Raki and he didn't get too close to Fletcher, but at least it was established that he was part of the team. And then Cloak is just like, yeah, let him go, let him do his thing. It's like, hang on a sec, wait, what? He could die.
Yeah,
But he could live.
well, I mean, this is the thing, because I was like, yeah, this is a bad idea, but this is Kane playing as an Anarchy. It's like there is no convincing him. Like, if we talked about it, he would have just turned around and rugby tackled this guy and gone there anyway.
I don't know.
It's like,
Kane's not not being funny enough, and Kane's not as jammy as you guys when it comes to roleplay stuff. Like, I'm sorry, but like, give me proof that you're not, and I'll stop saying it. But if you had rolled and succeeded, like some charisma rolls against him, he would have reluctantly said, "Fine, okay, I understand for now." Like, he would have probably said it as like, next time you're not talking me out of it, sort of thing. At most, that would have been the thing that he would have said, but he would have still been talked out because, again, he pays attention to the stuff and the stat rolls and all that. Nobody tried it on him. So that was quite funny. The reason why I had added the bit in the episode with Redoran Suzaku saying like, oh no, maybe he shouldn't go on his own, maybe someone should come along with him, maybe some of us should go along with him. Nobody said anything. And the reason why was not because I wanted him to have backup. It was actually because nobody said anything. Like, I mean, legitimately, it was like, okay, yeah, I'm going. Dead silence. Like, nobody in character or out of character even said it. It was almost like as if Anarchy was a ghost, and so was this teleporter for a second. Like, nobody said anything. It was like dead silence, and I was like, well, someone's going to have to say something, because this is kind of a bit of a shocking revelation that we find out that this teleporter could send us directly to the big bad. And one of the party members wants to do it, 1v1 him, and nobody said anything. So I was like, okay, well, I guess I'll say something then, as the only other NPC. And this, Sam, proving me once again that I was right. This is why I have NPCs, at least one, because that then in moments where it's like everyone's uncharacteristically falling on deaf ears and not saying anything, and somehow like cut everyone's tongues out. Just to actually have it where it's like the air is filled with at least someone saying something in character, hopefully to prompt someone else to say something.
Are we bad friends?
I mean, to be fair, we knew him for a day.
Oh yeah, no, I agree with Sam.
Wait,
I
so
know.
I mean, let's be honest. We didn't have much character development with him anyway. So,
But
Well,
as we
that's
do.
but at the very
yes,
least, it would have been
no.
like, hang on a second, is this a clever idea? Like, even though that you don't know him, it would have still been like, huh, bye. Even that would have been something, but nobody said anything. Nobody even reacted to this, and that's kind of what bothered me. Like, I didn't care if you guys didn't. Like, even if you had said, all right, see you later, die then, or something like that, like, just any kind of, like, anything.
Yeah, I mean, in my defense, I did say, "Are you absolutely sure you want to do this?"
That was after Redoran said something.
Yeah.
Though. That's the problem.
Yeah.
I will say, I was quite surprised that, like, Lily didn't want to at least, like, say, like, a little comment about it, like, like Utility Lily just going, like, #dead or something like that, like or even saying, like, take one of the robots with him, like the camera droid with him, so that then she can, like, live stream the fight, or anything like that. Like, I was just thinking, like, oh man, what will any of this motley crew of strange weirdos, what will they say? And nobody said anything.
Yeah.
Just dead silence. I was like, ah. I was really kind of disappointed because I was really kind of hoping that you guys would say something wacky. But nobody said none.
I mean, to be honest, I think at that point I was expecting you to begin talking, so that could have been it.
I had like a good 30-second, if not 60-second dead silence.
And I probably also waiting for other people, because it was like, okay, who's actually going to break the ice here? At a party, you never know who's going to start speaking first. Like,
Well, that should be you. That should be you, Lily.
Your character's the more talkative one out of all of the other players.
Although, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I just didn't think of anything to say, really. I just sort of like, yeah, I don't have any, I don't have any problem.
So we're having a moment of silence for him.
No, you're not getting away with that.
No.
I was actually going to say, in the terms of the session, what was with your roles?
I was just really pissed off all the time about
Really,
that.
Sam? I couldn't tell with your very salty attitude.
Because, like, in the first session, I was unable to do anything because of the way the rules had been. Then this session, like the second session I was introduced, I was unable to do anything. I was like,
the third session, this is like the third session and the second session that you actually have some combat, and you weren't really able to do this.
This character is great, going well. Character's going to go places.
To be fair, your current situation with your character does genuinely remind me of whenever I play Bill sessions. We don't stream these, but like I've played 3 separate characters in that campaign. One got killed, which I'm actually like really sad about still. Like, I really like that character, but I was like, well, he dead. Moving on. The next one was I was just bored with the character. It was just not interesting. And now this other character I'm kind of liking, but every single one of them had the worst luck. I have the absolute worst luck as a player, and I have the weirdest luck when it comes to being a DM, where I'll get an okay roll, which will end up being the most stupidly broken roll because someone gets a natural 1, and then another natural 1, and then I get a natural 20 out of nowhere. It just... Yeah, like... I felt your pain though, Sam. Like, I genuinely did. And even worse, the guy who was fighting you after you like did the whole extreme adaptation thing, which gave you more resistance, there was nothing I could do to you, and I think every single one of us knew it, but there was also nothing else that I could have him do other than run away, and I was just thinking, like, I don't really want another character to run away, and I know what would happen. Knowing my luck, I would have it that he runs away, and for some reason he gets all the natural 20s, and he's just completely evasive. So...
Yeah, not a good day for you, Eli.
No, not a good day.
But still, it gave me more XP, so...
Yeah, it did. I mean, to
and that's
be honest,
the important thing.
I should say I've almost literally leveled up all of her stats, like all of her like trades. There's not much more I can do with her.
Really?
In that regard, yeah. Like the only trade I still have to do is performance, and that's at like level 6. I think it's actually level 7 now.
Well, I mean,
That's it. I have to learn more trades.
I don't think you will though, because once you've maxed out on everything, wouldn't you have like 18 milestones or something?
Yes.
So yeah,
I need to learn more trades just so I have a reason to gain XP.
Yeah, although to be fair, like once you've capped out at a certain point, there's not really much point in XP anyway. But
you can still learn trades and still level up trades that way.
Yeah, it's kind of
more milestones.
Oh, I was actually had a thing that I wanted to talk about, which was a milestone cap. And I've been thinking about a milestone cap, and I've been thinking about maybe 20 milestones, because at that point, that's.
I mean, you've already capped the number of trades you can learn. I think that's enough.
No, because technically the amount of trades that you can learn is ridiculous. But technically, if I don't cap the amount of trades that you can learn, but instead cap the amount of milestones you can have, that makes sense, because bosses get capped at the maximum amount of milestones that they can get boss health from is technically 19. Because when they get 19 milestones, they get up to 1,000 boss HP, and that's as high as it goes. So because of that, I was thinking like, ooh, maybe have it that it's 20 for bosses and for everything. Like the highest amount of milestones that you can get is 20. Also because like technically at that point that is legitimately 100 levels. And I think at that point, like 100 levels is more than fair enough. As I said, I'm still not sure. Like this is just a possibility. But it's also just because that, like, by I think like 20 milestones, that's the point when you've definitely reached 200 HP. And also, like, I feel like at that point, like, any XP that you get is still useful because you might use it to change some abilities around, maybe relearn some new abilities, maybe alter some master abilities and stuff like that. You can still use XP and downtime and stuff, but as I said, I'm still not 100% sure. I'm not confirming it yet, but
if you're going to do that, keep the trade. If I keep the trade amount that you can learn, have it that you can keep learning trades up until that point, max level, but you don't get any more than this amount of like HP levels. Like, HP maximum is like say. Like 18 milestones or 20 milestones. That's the max number of HP you get from it.
But also if at least if you cap the amount of milestones you can have, then it's also that factor of like, you know, that's as far as you go. You can't really go any further than this. I feel like on the bright side with that, it's that thing of like, okay, I know that there's an end, and I need to be careful with what I've got. Rather than just going too far, and then ending up in the situation that you've currently got, which is just, yeah, I'm just going to keep getting trades and trades and trades and trades. Why? Just so that I have trades and trades and trades and trades. Because eventually, I think we confirmed that the most amount of trades that you can get is technically 60. If you had super intelligence, like passive super intelligence, passive super wisdom, maxed out intelligence, and maxed out wisdom, you could get 30. 30 on each, so 60 trades, right? I don't think there's 60 trades in the game. Or at least technically there are 60 trades in the game, but most of them would be ridiculous and redundant for certain characters. And also after a while, as we've seen with a couple of characters, you can technically make your own. So technically there's a theoretical infinite amount of different trades that you can learn. So at that point it's like, you might as well just have it that there's a limit as to how many milestones you have rather than how many trades you can have. That's my opinion anyway. Obviously, I'll get more than just one opinion before I actually confirm anything like that.
Because I'm okay with the health thing. I'm just saying that like there'll come a point when that it just kind of becomes redundant to fight people then, or to do like.
Yeah, it's also part of the story, isn't it? It's also still part of the story, like, you know.
No, I get that, but like, probably like rather than going into fights, probably sneak out, Like in other stories, I mean, like other stories, I suppose that still, I don't know. I suppose.
I mean, it still works in most other situations. It's just, you know, it's also because it's also because like, you know, it's that thing, a factor of like, if you go to a certain level point, it's that thing of like, okay, you have now like, you know, 40 different trades. You've now got one for literally every day of the week, and you've also got ones for every single stat that you're bad at, which now means that you've now got the capability to like soften the blow of any of your bad stats and go, oh, can I roll for this instead? So I think it's just that factor of like, at least if you got 20, that's still like 20 milestones. That's still 10. Well, technically that's 7 trades, because. You know, theoretically, you'd have your powers, and then you'd have your character levels. Or if you're a human, it's just character levels. Either way, that matches up to 30, and then obviously the rest of your 7 trades, which would then be obviously all the way up to the extra 70 levels, which would get you the whole 20 milestones. Yeah, as I said, I'm not sure, because as much as I want to say yes, or as much as I want to say no, I have yet to really feel too strongly for one. Because on one hand, I feel like, ooh, that would be a good idea. On the other hand, I'm like, part of the reason is because of this, that, and the other. I think the biggest issue that I'm currently having with it is because of bosses. Because at the moment, we've already seen that Zayton enemies are basically a walk in the park for you, as we saw in this session. Like, I know that you struggled, but you struggled because of dice rolls, but even still, he didn't really do too much to you after a while, and really, you guys were both on equal terms. It's just that the rolls were not on the side.
Yeah, it didn't look as awesome, but it is, like, still pretty awesome. Like, there was nothing he could do to you, just, like, donk, nothing, donk, nothing, donk, nothing. It's like, you were a brick
when
wall.
He could donk, it was very little.
Mm-hmm.
Ow, slight annoying, irritating scratches.
Oh, that tickles.
Ouch. Ouch. So...
Is that a Dragon Ball Z character? Oucha.
Yamcha and Oucha. There's also the friend Incha. They're very short.
To be honest, best part, I'm not even sure if you're joking or not, but that could be accurate.
No, I was
I mean, we don't know.
No, there's only Yamcha. So, anything that you guys want to talk about for the session that happened, that went?
Well, other than, trialing the new husk system, which is good. Yeah, there's not really much to say. It's like, it's an improvement.
Okay. You sounded in pain a lot over the last 2 sessions, whenever stat rolls were questioned.
I mean, mostly in jest, but it is just a way of getting used to it, because it's sort of like, oh, so, because I've just played as that for so long, it's like, oh, I don't have plus 11 anymore.
Oh no. My stats, they've melted away.
Nice suboptimal.
Oh my god, I have like 1 less modifier. Oh, I'm so weak.
It's so difficult. Oh, my life is so hard.
Now I wish I had 11s.
Fun fact, Anarche now, technically because of this update, Anarche now has a plus 6 super strength, which actually means that he has plus 11 to any strength rolls. But
Good lord.
Even more hilariously, though, is that he's really annoyed about it. Because he said everything was perfectly neat and tidy. I had plus 10, and his energy dice has gone up by 1 as well. He had a D12, and he went up to the dreaded D10 D4, and he's like,
that is annoying.
I said,
that is very annoying.
At least write it down so that you know that you definitely have that. He goes, fine, but I'm never using it. I'm only ever using the D10. I'm only ever using the D12, because then I can do 2d6. I was like, okay, yeah, that's fine. So basically, he's using holdback mechanic almost all the time because he doesn't want to do it. He said, I really hope that I get a boon soon so that I can just increase that, because then it can then be 2d12s. But yeah, getting that boon soon. The
You're salty over having too many dice.
He is salty over having slightly higher dice. I say salty. He's not salty. He's just like a little irritated because most of us don't like the D10 D4.
Yeah, I mean, because it's like
dice.
you can split down the D12s into like 3D6s, which
even the D10 D10 D6, you can split that perfectly into 2D8s, and yeah, that's
but 2D8s though, it's like, ugh.
Yeah. Yeah, although like I do like 2D8s though. I love 2D8s. I think the one that I don't like because there's a couple of different ones that we have where it's like obviously 2D12s can be split into 2D6s and stuff like that. There's only one other dice because we always usually have the rule that the dice have to be split in half. And if they can't be split, and if when they're split in half, they're not both the exact same dice, they can't be used. And so they can't be split into threes, but they have to be perfectly split in half. And then there's a thing where it's like Bill and I were talking about this, like 2d10s and a d12 is 32. That being split in half is a d10 and a d6, like 2d10s and 2d6s. So it's like that being split in half is 2d10s and a d6. But if you split that in half again, it's then 4d8s. That's the only time that we have ever had it where you can do that. So we don't have it that you can change it and make it into as many small dice as you want. Hence, what I said to you, Sam. Where are you getting all this dice from? We have a table and have literally every part of the Power Compendium, the Power Compendium, the Husk Power Compendium, the Omegan Power Compendium. All of them have their own table that works exactly the same way, which tells you how the dice increase and how they go up. And what they can be, and if they can be split, how they can be split. But yeah, I do feel for Kane, to be fair.
It's a hard knock life having that many dice.
Oh, it's just so difficult, Sam. You just wouldn't ever know the burdens of being so powerful.
Hard knock life.
I don't know. You've got a lot of abilities and recipes and stuff like that. You just obviously haven't had the chance to use them yet.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, I've got like 10 trades I've got to think up. No.
I mean, it did save our skins, the session before. Just like you had the 2 practices.
Yes. Yeah.
Saving it, falling out the freaking sky.
Yes. I mean, that's another thing of me failing to do something. Me failing to hit someone.
Yeah, but you succeeded.
But you succeeded in being the one who repaired the very thing that broke. I mean, yes, you were the one who broke it, but at least you repaired it. To be entirely fair, I don't think there was ever going to be an easy way that you were going to have hit that guy, considering a teleportation with an SP and skill harmony. It was just not going to be an easy way for you to accomplish that feat. Which was kind of the point with that guy, to be fair. We also obviously I don't know if I said this in the last update, but we also added another master level thing. So at level 10 with a trade or proficiency, you can get these master perks. And there's now this one called Made Perfect, which is based on the practice ability, Practice Made Perfect, where basically once a day you can instantly have something the equivalent of an automatic activation, or a definitive natural 20. It can be anything under your current trade or proficiency, but it cannot be used reactively. The reason for that is because that there is already a perk that has this called there's a perk called Practice. Not Practice, defensive style called Perfect Defense that does this exact same thing, where it's just basically a token of a natural 20 evasive sort of ability. That being said, it's probably one of my favourite perks that we've just recently made, because that instead of an ultimate mastery where it is kind of the equivalent of an automatic natural 20, an ultimate mastery is basically the equivalent of that, but you build the ability and you give it functions and all this stuff, and it can be really powerful. But the only issue is that it can only be used in that particular regard and for that particular ability, whereas a Made Perfect could be anything that you've made prior, at any point, at any time, and even if you've used it on that one, 24 hours later, you can use it on a different one. So it's just I really like it. It's just that obviously no one's taken it yet because it's so new.
I mean, I could wasn't that the power we were going to use for whenever I make like the legendary weapons or whatever? I think of a different power.
Oh, actually, yes. No, I think we did talk about that. I don't know if you have that though. As of yet,
I'm going to because that's probably going to be my level 10 blacksmithing ability.
If so, that's going to be awesome. I really like that idea. Yeah, definitely. This is going to be so cool.
So cool.
It's going to be so cool, guys.
And now you're going to have weapons again.
Weapons again. Here's weapons. Take these weapons. Obviously we had the pirate group that you fought in in that little village. There was only a few of them, and then obviously you had like the boss that only Felix took down. I was kind of disappointed that I didn't get to use too much of his abilities, but at the same time we were so stripped for time.
And just, I'm sorry, but that was awesome. Felix just like
trying to wrench off that guy's arm.
Yeah, just jeez, Dark Felix.
I think this actually goes to prove something though, because like if Felix actually could get the willpower abilities that both Anarche and Cloak has, I don't think there's anyone in the game that can beat him at that point. Like range is your best friend against him. But since at maximum level he has plus 10 super strength, which can multiply, I think, throwing distance by 10 or 20 times. That means that you can throw something up to 200 or 300 meters away. Which means that that's like better than most flight users. So he could just snipe people by throwing boulders at them.
That's unpleasant.
Get down here! Oh dear. So, what are your guys' thoughts for the next session then? Since you've now saved these people.
Well, I'm not entirely sure. Well, I'm just going to keep going. I mean, honestly, we got to get an arcade prison break eventually. I mean, it's sort of an interesting one, really. I mean, is Kane going to come back? If we're just going to, have Kane in the prison that he's being held in, or
if he's in the next session, which I hope he is, but if he's in the next session, then yeah, we're going to be focusing on him at some point. I don't think he's going to be like the main focus of the episode because obviously, like there are 5 or 6 of you. But if we have less of you, obviously we can spend a little bit more time on him. But yes, at some point we will be talking about him being in the prison island known as Jotun Jail Island.
Jotun Jail.
Yep.
Oh my goodness.
Yep.
Like I remember you told me it's not spelled jail, it's spelled like a GAOL or something.
GAOL, yeah.
Girl.
Like it's from Galway or like somewhere in Scotland.
No, it's just it's the old spelling of jail. Jail.
Again, could be somewhere in Scotland. Galway. Well, that was a bad joke. No one laughed at. Forget about that.
Yep.
I've been to Scotland. Yeah.
I'm laughing more of the retraction of I'm sorry, I've been cancelled. For this terrible joke than I am of the actual joke. To be honest,
it has been placed under my awareness that that joke was not funny and it was taken out of context immediately.
I mean, for all the 0 Scottish people we have listening to us, go take offense to us.
You've just erased poor Jock from Scotland who's just tuned in and he's just like he's crying his eyes out. As
parts of him are just digitizing away. It's like, no, you'll pay big time.
Friend Joe.
I'm
If anyone's
sorry.
going to get rid of the Scottish people.
If anyone's going to get
voice.
cancelled, it's now going to be me. I apologise to anyone who did not like any of my accents that I pulled on for this most recent episode.
I mean, I must say, well, that's the thing, because you have many. Well, that's the thing. You have a certain wheelhouse of accents, I think, and this isn't the worst accents that you've done. We've seen some jolly good accents, but I can talk because I cannot do accents at all. I just refuse to do voices now for that reason. So don't you worry. Don't you worry.
I can't
And if you do one that's really, really bad, we will tell you and we will point it out.
I know you will. I think it's weird though because I have it trying to do a very terrible one, but trying to do a Scottish accent for Davy Jones, and then trying to do a sort of a weird mixture between trying to do a Norfolk mixed with a tiny twang of Irish, for Yol Kiger. I don't know if it worked, but you know what? That's the voice that I'm going for him now. So that'll be his voice for the rest of the campaign. I also really love, to be honest, I really love the whole concept of Yol Kiger because Kane was saying to me like he was actually weirdly nice. Like I thought he was just gonna be a dick the whole time and try and like kill me instantly upon even gazing upon his face or something like that. But like weirdly enough, like Kane said, like, don't tell me, but in my head canon, I've got it that the reason why he was even that nice to me is because I got weirdly, freakishly good charisma rolls.
Just Yol Kiger is just really attracted to him.
I think the weirdest part for me was when I was doing this, like, I was just like, well, it's the fact that like usually he's hanging around people who basically love, respect, or worship him. Or fear him. He's never around people that just see him as an interesting person, a challenge, or anything like that. You know, there's no one to try and challenge him because they either hate him because of the way that he looks. Because again, he's like, for those of you who haven't figured it out, there's something about him that isn't the norm because Yol Kiger is a giant. He stands in at 5 meters tall, and even an Arche couldn't figure out what it was. There was something else, as I said before. There was something else different about him, but it wasn't a power that was making him this size. But yeah, so he was hated by the people of the land of the sunken moon, and eventually he just took to. Like this is common knowledge by your characters by this point, but at some point 22 years ago he killed the at the time emperor of the southern region, who was the father of the current empress of the southern region. So 22 years ago he just killed him, and that's when and how he became a wanted man. Later on, gained the moniker. Or the moniker of the strongest creature, and eventually gained a bounty of 50 million, which I've now changed to the fact that like the bans won't remove bounties of high priority targets. They'll just remove any bounties if the amount succeeds him. Because I just kind of feel like that's kind of the point. It's like if he say for instance if he got up to 50 million, then I feel like it would just replace his bounty if he got over that. But other than that, like it would just add on to his bounty, I guess. But yeah, so
I must say that was the prospect of that, we talked about that as well. It's like, oh, that whole bounty is just gone now.
Yeah.
It was like, oh,
I'm you and Arche.
That was like truly, that was like demoralizing. Although at the same time, I was sort of like, oh, that means we can do other things. It won't be it won't hasten, the golden arc, as it were. We can get to the golden arc another way. But it's like, that was kind of a bummer though.
I don't know though, because if that was the case, let's be honest, if that was the case, I know that like I know that at least the two of you would be fighting tooth and nail to just basically complain at Bill that was like, why are we even doing this anymore? Like, like, why are we even doing this anymore? Why are we trying to do this? Because we're not going to get any points. And Bill, you're the one who's always saying that we're not going anywhere with points. Why are we doing this anymore? And obviously for Bill, it's more the character. You know, Cloak is trying to save his homeland. But for you guys, it's like, obviously, you know, well, we don't get any points from this. Why are we bothering?
No, it's not even with me. I mean, Rakia is just sort of like wants to redeem herself after the oopsie. So that is another reason for all of that. It's just, you know,
incident.
Yes, but at the same time, yeah, it is like it is kind of a bummer though. But there are other options if it was going to go that way. You know, there are other options for us. So I wasn't so bummed. There was also part of me that was kind of thinking, what if an arcade does it? Yeah. Like, that would be super... Yeah, there was a part of me that was just sort of like, but what if he does it, though? And I was like, I gotta see this. But, yeah.
I was curious. I mean, to be honest, when Kane said I was so close, he wasn't too wrong. Not necessarily in the terms of the health, but in the terms of the fact that if I didn't get a natural 20 on that hit, I reckon he could have actually lasted long enough to maybe pull out a pretty decent, fair victory, or at least a very close draw / an almost like, oh my gosh, he nearly was defeated. Yol Geiger was pushed back by this, this kid. And we didn't get that because I got the weird natural 20. One of his main pure techniques, as I said before, is called Unstoppable Fist. And the idea is that it does 2 times damage, but the downside to the pure technique, which actually lowers the requirement. So normally a 2 times damage pure technique would have the requirement of 20 plus, but it's actually 15 plus because the requirement, because the downside is the opponent does not lose the ability to counterattack. So if they try to go for an ability that gives them a counterattack, they can indeed succeed. However, this is only if they are rolling for something that is a legitimate thing that is actually a counterattack. So reactive striking, but they will get hit by the attack. Or if they succeed, but not necessarily getting the 5 or above on an evasion, acrobatics, or finesse. So either way, so basically, it means that it's impossible for them to fail getting it. It just only in this situation. So technically, as long as an arcade kept using reactive strike, he was allowed to keep punching and trading blows with Yol Geiger. But considering that Yol Geiger is supposed to be the strongest creature in the world, you don't really want to be trading blows with the guy. So it didn't work out, but again, who knows? Maybe this training arc will be the exact thing that he needs to get him back in the ring.
I think all it takes is some good luck, and then you could beat anybody.
I mean, that really depends.
Beat most people.
Yeah, that really depends. I mean, I will say there is a good chunk of it where luck can come in, but if you have the right strategy, then luck isn't really necessary. Because as Alex, as you proved with Warhead, you set traps on yourself, and you did this before the battle. So at that point, it wasn't about succeed or not. It was just, okay, I'm going to put this and this and this and this on me. Okay, yeah, right, you've done that. You ran up to someone and it's like, okay, right, I'm going to try and fight, I'm going to try and hit them. And the second that they landed an attack, it was too late. The explosion triggers, they then take damage, and if they can't withstand the attack that you've placed on that, then they're just done for. And the best part is that you had one on your arm, one on each arm, one on each leg, one on torso, one on head. So literally anywhere that they hit you, an explosion would fire off. And if it was melee, they were done. And that's strategy over luck. And again, almost every power has a possibility for strategy, or at least every trade. And that's what I mean. Yes, luck can be the thing that helps you in a lot of situations in this game. but it's not always the winner, because you can still override luck by the fact it's like, yeah, okay, you hit me with a natural 20 attack, but this explosion happens regardless of how good you are with your ability. Unless if you're immune to this particular damage that this explosion is dealing, you gon' get hit, son! So, it's...
So my stats are flawless, sorry. So... I must say, I do like that. I do like... I don't know, it's really... it's actually really funny that we've actually got in the canon now, luck gods and goddesses and stuff, because I do feel like that sometimes. It's sort of like, my stats are flawless. My stats are flawless every fair, and I roll a nat 1 on life, and it's like, no, this isn't actually possible. or the reverse, where it's like, I've laid everything out, and it's like the worst horrible bad luck ever, but it's like it still gets through it anyway for the planning, and I'm like, haha, fuck you, fuck you, karma.
I think
fictional character from my head.
I think one of the craziest things that we actually found out recently, that like stuff like that connected, like prep, especially characters that have the ability to have an ability that is based on prep, basically means that they can theoretically beat the game without needing to worry about how good their rolls are. Like, yes, there are still ways that you can outstrat certain strategies and most strategies, but like if you don't have that headspace, it just means that they have thought their way around this, and they've thought their way through this. The craziest one that I actually found was Bartholomew could technically take on almost everyone in the party now, even though he is half the level and half the strength and even weaker than every single one of the party. It's just that he would win because if he had prep time enough to make an island, then he wins.
Yeah.
Because if he just sinks into the island, you're like, okay, well, we need to start breaking the island apart. Well, whilst you're trying to do that, he's going to start making clones, and the most amount of clones he can make is 10. If he makes 10 clones, all the clones can attack you. And the thing is, the clones will only have anywhere between 2 all the way up to 18 health. That's super easy belly and inconvenience. But if they pull off an attack on you, which if they have any noise-based equipment, which means that they can use their special abilities, such as the sound-based stuff, their music stuff. If they use the music stuff, they can do sonic damage, which none of you can resist. So they can all do sonic damage, and since it doesn't come from powers, even Nully Boy himself can't resist that attack, so then all of them are doing it. But even crazier is that they have a pure technique or an advanced technique where they can do 1.5 times sonic damage on top of then any of their allies that are within their radius. They can then give what's known as hype song to, which then for one rotation gives them advantage. So then the next one gets advantage to deal it. Then the next one gets advantage. Then the next one gets advantage. And basically, if you're in the radius of all of them and you keep failing to stop them, because they'd all have 10 on proficiency of music, it basically means that you can take, I think it's like almost up to like 108 points of damage in a single rotation of combat. And even crazier, when you kill them, next rotation, he just makes more. And then just slinks away. So even if you kill them, he can make more and all this other lot. It's just... Bartholomew is ridiculous. Like, he's absolutely ridiculous. But because of his prep time, take him outside of his island, he's nowhere near that level compared to, like, the rest of the crew, because he has 6 or 7 milestones, and you guys all have, like, double that now.
But he ain't coming out of his island, though.
No.
That's where all the stuff is.
I like Earth. It's where all my stuff is.
And I think that should be the end of it there with Bartholomew, our favourite bony boy.
Favourite bony boy. Thanks for listening to this episode. This has been the Animite Tales Podcast. Obviously, we will try and keep you up to date with anything that you need to know, such as the game, any kind of things that we're doing on the sessions, such as our live streams, and of course, the website itself. Check out AnimiteTales.com if you want to find out anything else. Remember, the Animite Tales is a tabletop RPG system that you yourself can now have a look at the PDFs. We warn you though, it is again in open beta. It is completely open for you guys to have a look at and give us feedback to help us. And again, just as a reminder, the studio is not a professional studio. I just make this for you guys to enjoy. Hopefully you will enjoy it. Thank you very much, and have a wonderful night.
Bye!
See you in the future.
And as always, ciao ciao for now.